Hi everybody! Welcome to this week's episode of Virtually Alive. Today we're going to be learning all about sound. Sound is a type of energy that is created through vibrations. When something vibrates, it causes the particles in the air to vibrate. The more particles that vibrate, the more they bump into each other, leading to what we know as sound waves. Sound waves are longitudinal waves, and they continue traveling until they run out of energy. This means that a really loud sound that lasts for a long time would have created a bigger amount of vibration than a relatively quiet sound. One way to think of this is to imagine throwing a stone into a still body of water. The rings of waves expand through the water, differing only in size depending on how big the stone was. The same is true with sound. Irregular repeating sound waves create noise, while regular repeating waves produce what we hear as musical notes. In sound waves, when the vibrations are fast, they have a high frequency, meaning we hear high notes due to the higher pitch. When the vibrations are slow, it creates low notes because the lower the frequency, the lower the pitch. Different instruments create sounds in different ways. For example, string instruments like a guitar, cello, or violin all make sound through vibrating strings. The pitch of these strings is changed depending on the thickness, tension, and length of these strings, as well as the way the musician goes about vibrating them. Other instruments, like wind instruments such as a flute, tuba, or trumpet, create sound through vibrating air. Each instrument has a slightly different way that the air can be vibrated when they are blown into. Like in a clarinet, a thin piece of wood in the mouthpiece called a reed gets the air vibration started through the instrument after it is blown into. Different pitches are created using the different keys that determine which holes are open or closed on the instrument. The longer that air travels through an instrument before exiting means the lower the pitch or sound will be when it's released. However, you don't need a fancy instrument to create different pitches or music. You can use things that you have in your house to make them. The first activity is to make a water xylophone. To do this, we are going to fill glass jars with varying amounts of water to create different pitches, which is just the fancy word for a type of sound. Before we start this activity, try and create hypotheses like we showed in our first Steam On video for what amounts of water will create the highest and lowest pitches. For this activity, you will need 5 glass containers, chopsticks, food coloring, and water. To start, try tapping onto each of the cups before you put any water in them and see what the pitch sounds like. Now that we know what it sounds like without any water in the cups, we can add our water. So put all of your glasses in a row and fill them up in varying amounts. Next, you can add food coloring to your cups if you want to, just to personalize the color of your xylophone. Once you have your varying amounts of water, you can use your chopsticks to hit the glass containers and see the different pitches that are created. A fun thing to try is to put the cups in order of the lowest to the highest pitches. As you can see, more water equals lower sound or pitch, and less water equals a higher sound or pitch. So when you put the jars in order of pitch, they should also be going from the most filled to the least filled. Now that we've finished with our water xylophone, it's time to move on to our next activity. In this activity, we are going to create our very own wind instruments, like we talked about at the beginning of this video. To make our straw flutes, we will need 2 straws. If you have bubble tea straws, that would probably work better, but I just used what I had, so I used 1 paper straw and 1 plastic straw. Then you're going to need a ruler, some tape, and some scissors. To start, measure out the different lengths of your straw using the rulers and then cut them to those sizes. So we cut 10 centimeters, 7 centimeters, 5 centimeters, and 3 centimeters, and then I just kind of used the leftover straws that I had and made them fit into the shape as you can see. Then, tape the straws together at the top, making sure that they are all lined up in a row. Once you have done this, you can blow into the straws and take note of which straws lead to higher or lower pitches. As discussed earlier, the longer that air vibrates for in an instrument before it exits, the lower the sound is. For this reason, the shorter straws produce higher pitches, but the longer straws produce lower ones. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Virtually Alive. Don't forget to check us out on all of our other social medias, and we'll see you next week. Bye!